We'll have questions and answers afterwards, but not if I don't get started. Technology from a different perspective. In the old days, we used our bikes for exercise and for socializing. Nowadays, you had better watch out for that person on the bike because he's more in tune with his smart device than he is with his surroundings. And if you aren't careful, you're liable to be the person who winds up his victim. For those of you that have a laptop or a monitor with a touch screen, I personally have never gotten any benefit out of it. Every time I touch my touch screen, I wind up messing up whatever I happen to be working on. I did, however, find something very useful from my laptop with a touch screen. A little bit of advice: make sure that your cat's claws have been taken care of. You should also be using Gorilla Glass. I can tell you this will keep your cat amused for hours. Our customer service techs seem to be getting younger every single year. And no, I didn't give him my phone to play with. I want him to program it. It's my grandkids and great-grandkids that are more in tune with the smartphones than I am. I can work my way through a computer, answer all kinds of security questions, but when it comes to smartphones, their eyes are much better, and they have gotten much more involved in these devices. In the old days, the only thing on a leash was your pet. We have now joined that elite status. It's especially prevalent if you ever happen to be at an airport. They seem to have a joy out of leaving one place left open where you can plug in a device. And of course, everybody's bundled around that one outlet. My friends and I hanging out. Be careful if you're in one of these groups, because if that person in the front decides to stop quickly, you will have one heck of a pileup, because nobody's paying any attention to where they're actually going. I call this a modern love affair. Great thing about this is they never argue. I don't know of too many arguments that are done via text. So this marriage should last for a great long while. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may update your Facebook status. Of course, we have to take care of all the important things in life. And this is called cuddling. It's also an excellent method of birth control. Do you mind if I strap your phone to my forehead so I can pretend you're looking at me when I'm talking? This guy doesn't have a clue who he is out on a date with, who he should be communicating with. He's so engrossed in his smartphone and the text messages that he may have received. And this is what the morning commute looks like. If the train arrives, that's great. They'll actually go to work. If it doesn't arrive, they'll probably be sitting here when the train returns in the evening. 3 old friends getting together. I guess they must have an awful lot to talk about. This is called Thanksgiving dinner. Wonder how long it'll take before somebody realizes the food is actually getting cold. If this is what you face at your house, I make a suggestion. If you have people that come over for a visit, provide them with a little basket at the front door and ask them politely to deposit their smart devices in that basket. After all, they're supposed to be there to visit you, not to enjoy your Wi-Fi. Our generation doesn't even ring a doorbell anymore. They text you as soon as they arrive at your front door. I guess it's good, we'll save some electricity. Nowadays, when someone's in trouble, it's not important to help that person. It's more important to get the video so you can submit it to CNN. We have a brand new stall in the public bathrooms. It's called a selfies stall. This is how our kids go out and play today. We know that their mind is being exercised. We know that their thumbs get lots of exercise, but I wonder how much of the rest of the body gets to enjoy. When I was growing up, this is what I was familiar with. Actually, my favorite sport was stickball. I grew up in the Bronx, and if you hit that ball from one manhole cover to the next, that was considered a home run. Now, again, we exercise the minds, we exercise the fingers, and the rest of the body is left to take care of itself. Before cell phones and social networks, this is how you always knew there was socializing going on in somebody's house. All of the bikes would be parked outside, and the kids would be inside enjoying each other's company. We've had a little fun. Now let's get down to reality. Judging by the security on your website, I'm guessing you also leave an extra key underneath your doormat. Not all websites are secure. This is especially true for most of the mom and pop websites because they don't have the expertise to clean up a site that might become infected. So if you frequent smaller websites, make especially sure, or be especially cognizant of the fact that these can quite often become infected, and make sure that your antivirus program checks and monitors your internet access, and if there is something malicious on it, is capable of blocking it. 90% of all security incidents are caused by PBAC and ID10T errors. PBAC, the problem exists between the keyboard and the chair. If you weren't sitting on that chair, ready to pounce on any link that might be presented in an email or on social media, you wouldn't get your computer infected. We have to learn to be a little more cognizant. Don't just push on anything that's clickable, because it will probably get you into trouble. Also have to remember that no antivirus program is perfect. The virus always comes first, and the protection doesn't happen until the person in the virus lab has discovered what makes this new infection tick and gets protection available to everyone through updates to their antivirus program. But if you're the first person to run into a brand new virus, your system will wind up being infected. And it really makes no difference whose antivirus program you happen to use, since that virus is always first on the scene. Increasing online threats mean older users face real dangers online. And the older users need, well, the younger users too, need to realize that there are certain things in emails and on social media that needs to be avoided. Offers like free gifts, prizes, or vacations, offers on discount prescription and medication appear to be something from a friend or a family, but if you were to really check, the message is not consistent with what you would have gotten from a family or a friend. So be careful. Some things appear to come from official government agencies, but those agencies will never ask you for pertinent information within an email. Always make sure that you keep your protection, your operating system, and your programs as up to date as at all possible. Most of these updates happen to protect you, not to improve a program. We read about new security breaches almost every single day. This particular one came to those that use T-Mobile. And as you can see, there's enough information that they harvested to just about steal anything in your bank account, actually to steal your entire identity. Funny part on this thing is that T-Mobile offered those of us that used their service 2 years of free credit monitoring protection, but that protection was offered through Experian. And in case you don't know, Experian and T-Mobile are actually the same company. Kind of strange that one part of the company gets infected and offers you protection against that infection by another arm of that same company. Scams and phishing attempts happen daily. This one looks like it's coming from T-Mobile. I'm sorry, from Amazon.com. If you look closely, it's not. And the best way to tell, you have a link in here. It says, go here now to redeem your Prime reward. It's called a descriptive link. It doesn't show you where it goes, but it does give you a description of what it's offering. If you hover your mouse on top of that descriptive link, then on the bottom left of the screen, you will see where that link actually takes you. And as you can see from here, this has absolutely nothing to do with Amazon Prime. If you had gone here and given them all the information they asked for, you've now actually opened up your bank account for them to empty. Be careful. No reputable company will ever ask you for pertinent information through an email, won't include any links to take you anywhere except possibly to sign in to your account. Eight signs that someone may have stolen your identity. Your bank account shows withdrawals that you've never made. You don't get your bills at home anymore. You're still bombarded by all of the junk mail, but all the actual bills stop coming to your house. Your checks are being refused by merchants. You receive calls from debt collectors about loans that you've never made. Your credit report contains unfamiliar charges and debts. You receive bills for medical providers for doctor's visits you've never made, and probably for doctors that you've never heard of. You can't get health insurance coverage because they tell you that you have a disease which you know you don't have. You get a notice from the IRS that you filed more than one tax return. This is a sure giveaway that someone has stolen your identity. It's strange they never tell you that you may have more than one refund coming. Unfortunately, that never happens. If this should happen to you, or you know a friend who's had their identity stolen, I suggest that you contact the folks at idtheftcenter.org. It is a nonprofit. They don't charge for their services. The only thing they do is help you recoup should you have your identity stolen. Remember that this could happen to any one of us. Even if you use the free version of Avast, you become a less likely candidate for identity theft, but as I just mentioned, it can still happen to any one of us. By law, we are each entitled once per year to receive a free credit report from each of the 3 major credit reporting companies. If you sent a request in January to all 3 of them, you would probably have 3 reports, all containing the exact same information. Smart thing to do would be in January to ask for a report from Equifax, then in May send out a request from Experian, and in September ask for a report from TransUnion. That way, once every 4 months, you'll get a fresh credit report, and if something's going on, you get a quick chance to check and find out what the problem is. It's also a good way to make sure that if you paid off a loan, they've actually removed it from what you still owe. Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center was just hit by CryptoLocker. Unfortunately, the hospital data wasn't backed up, so they had no choice to eventually pay these crooks to get the key to unlock the data that had been encrypted. The hospital reported that they paid out $17,000 in order to get the key. Of course, that's what the hospital says. The crooks originally demanded $3.4 million in Bitcoin for that information. And I'm sure the truth is somewhere in between the $17,000 the hospital is willing to admit and the $3.4 million originally asked for. And this is what ransomware and CryptoLocker looks like. If you happen to get hit by this, you have pretty much only one choice unless you have a recent backup available. If that's not the case, then you have very little choice of ever getting your personal information back, ever being able to get to your computer unless you pay the ransom asked for. The best defense is a good offense. Get in the habit and set up a regular method of backing up your system. If nothing else, at least make sure that your personal information is backed up. Your pictures, your documents, your emails, because if you get hit by CryptoLocker without the key, you will never see that information again. This is a new version of CryptoLocker, and it actually overwrites the master boot record of the computer. If you get hit with this, pay the ransom or go out and buy a brand new hard drive and start reinstalling your operating system, your programs, and start collecting new pictures because your old information will be history. Remember that on the internet, you never ever know who the experts actually are. In this particular picture, the skinny person happens to be the weight loss expert, and the slightly overweight person happens to be the one in charge of bodybuilding. I brought this one up because we should realize that when we talk to someone in a chat, especially a video chat, the picture you see of the other person, unless it's a friend, a relative, may not be the actual person or a likeness of the actual person. So be extremely careful when you communicate, especially via video chat with a stranger. Social engineering is still very rampant and quite often used to steal your identity. On the left, you see a picture of Bill Gates, and there's a link there to click to enter a contest, and he will reward you with $5,000. The problem is that this is not legit. You and I are not part of Bill Gates's charities. Things like this, if you expect to get something from this outside of being hoodwinked and swindled, are not in your favor. Be careful on any links you click on that you can't verify to make sure that they are legitimate. In my Facebook, I have hundreds of friends and I have never ever met them. In the old days, we used to call those imaginary friends. Remember that little button that you see in Facebook, click here to like me? Anytime you do that, you share all of your information and all of your friends' information with that stranger who you have given access to your Facebook information to. So never ever share or like someone that you don't actually know. Protecting our computers is very easy. Doesn't matter if you have a Windows computer or a Mac. One brand protects both of them, and that's Avast. I use the free version of Avast, and I use other free programs to give me what's called layered protection. Let's cover some of those programs that I install in addition to Avast. The very first program I install on any new computer is called Unchecky, and its job is very simple. Uncheck pre-checked boxes to garbage we really don't want to get onto our computer. And these things get passed on to us when we download a good program or when we update certain things on our computer. And if we don't use the custom install, we'll never know that these things are passed along to us. We'll find out very quickly after the update or the new program's installed, because we'll start getting bombarded by all kinds of pop-ups. Unchecky, make sure that these things don't wind up getting onto your computer. For those of you that have a USB external drive or just a USB drive or a memory card from a camera, they need to be checked as soon as they're plugged into your computer, and that's what McShield does. It makes sure if there's anything malicious on that external device that it's not allowed to get to your computer. Malwarebytes Anti-malware, an excellent program and an excellent companion to any antivirus program you may be using. There are viruses, trojans, and rootkits that can actually kill your computer. And then there is malware that can make life on your computer a living hell. Malwarebytes takes care of those pop-ups that bother you while you're browsing. It gets rid of the part that makes life on your computer miserable. CCleaner. It was originally called Crap Cleaner because its job was to remove any of the garbage that you accumulate while visiting the internet or running any of the programs on your computer. I suggest that you leave the default settings just the way they are. Running it that way, it's 100% safe, and it does an excellent job of cleaning up the garbage from your computer. You can also use this to clean the registry. But the registry, unless you're an expert, should never be touched. Making changes to CCleaner to clean up certain parts of the registry could result in a computer that will not boot. So be careful. Again, use the default settings. They are 100% safe. Wind Patrol monitors your system for changes. And if you all of a sudden see a pop-up from Wind Patrol for something that wants to run and you don't recognize it, then do a search on the internet. Make sure that the overwhelming majority of the reviews say it is something favorable. If not, don't allow it to run and uninstall it because it's already been installed on your computer. Wind Patrol also monitors your registry for changes. And if it notices something happening, it can block it. This is also something that ransomware uses because most of it is done through the registry. So this is another helpful tool. Password managers. Most passwords that people use are not considered safe. A password manager can create passwords for you. It can fill in passwords for you. And if you use a password manager, you actually only need to remember one password. And that is the password to get to your password manager. Remember, that is a password that only you know. It is not stored on your computer. It is not held onto by those that offer a password manager. So you need to make very, very sure that that is something you write down until it's embedded in your memory. If you lose it, you also lose access to all of those nice, safe passwords. The latest version of Avast actually has a free password manager included in the free version of Avast. Avast also offers business-grade protection starting at a price that every business can afford, totally free of charge. This is what I've used since 2003. It's the free version of Avast. Last thing that they've added to this is the password manager. Last year, they added a scan to your network, which checks your router and your modem and makes sure that your network is actually safe. Back in 2003, I was using Norton, or to rephrase it, Norton was using my system and occasionally gave me access. I did some research, stumbled upon Avast, and it's been there ever since. It's extremely light on system resources and has done an excellent job of keeping my system safe. And this is what a network scan looks like. And it checks many, many of the things to make sure that you actually have a secure network. If it finds something, it lets you know what it's found, and it will actually tell you how to fix it so that you're again safe and secure. For those of you that own an Android device, it needs as much protection as your computer. There are currently over 33 million infected Android devices out there. That's because people treat these devices as toys, and they're not. Anything that communicates with the internet is just as prone to infections. You carry just as much information on them as you do with any other device, your computer, your desktop computer, or your laptop. Actually, my smartphone is smarter than my laptop. You can get free mobile security from the Google Play Store. You should also realize that most applications, if you want safe ones, have to come through the Play Store. And this also holds true if you have an iDevice. Get it through the Play Store. Don't install it through what they call the back door. There is no way that you can make sure that it's actually something safe unless you're getting it through the recognized Play Stores. And this is Avast Mobile Security. Make sure that while you're on your smart device, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet, is safe. For those of you that own an iOS device, Avast doesn't yet have an antivirus program available. Until that happens, use Lookout. What Avast does offer for those of you that have an iOS device is called Avast Secure Me. It is a VPN, which is a virtual private network. It is something to be used whenever you're on public or open Wi-Fi. What it does is encrypt all the information before it leaves your device and doesn't unencrypt until it gets to its destination. So if someone intercepts the information en route, the only thing they will get is encrypted or useless information. It makes it safe to use your device even when you're on open or insecure networks. Since we're on mobile devices, this is the tan line of the next generation. Texting. In the old days, this is how we passed text along from one person to another. Nowadays, everyone is texting, even the youngsters. Dear Ma, due to a high volume of text messaging I receive, I can't guarantee an individual response to every single message. It's not unusual to find kids that have thousands of text messages every month. Avast also makes protection available totally free of charge to schools, colleges, and libraries. Simply go to the website listed here, fill out a simple application, and the license becomes yours. Most schools spend on an average of $14,000 a year to protect their computers. They can now get that protection totally free of charge. About the only thing that Avast asks is that the money saved be used to further education, not to enhance the principal's salary. Outside of that, there really aren't any restrictions. One rule that every computer user needs to learn: when all else fails, turn it totally off. Quite often we wind up with our computer just not acting properly. Most of the time it's because it's been on for quite a long time and all kinds of things have built up in the background. And a simple fix is to totally remove any electricity from it for a few seconds. If you have a laptop, it means you have to actually take the battery out, because just turning off your laptop doesn't remove it from electricity. You still have your battery keeping your computer going in the background. Once you've disconnected from the electricity itself, wait a few seconds, then plug it back in, and 9 out of 10 times that problem that was bugging the heck out of you will be totally gone when you reboot your system. This is also true for those of you that use a modem. Sometimes we just simply need to totally recycle it. And the easiest way to do that is, again, to unplug it, wait a few minutes, wait for all the lights to come back, and your problem is probably going to be gone. I can tell you that if you don't do this, this will be the first thing that the tech who you're going to pay a fortune to will try once you get it to their shop. 5 minutes of work is sure worth saving probably $129.95 if that's what you have to pay when you get to the shop. Remember, it's extremely important to read, but it's also more important to comprehend what you read. This is a picture of my home just before Christmas. We got hit with one heck of a snowstorm. We had snow here in New Mexico before they did in New York. Highly unlikely, but it happened this past season. The wife texts the husband on a cold winter morning, "Windows frozen, won't open." The husband texts back, "Gently pour some lukewarm water over it and gently tap the edges with a hammer." 5 minutes later, the wife texts back, "Computer is really messed up now." Remember, when you communicate with someone, make sure both of you are on the same topic. If not, this could result in some very, very hazardous situations. If you learned something this afternoon, please let Gracie know about it. If you didn't like the presentation, you may also tell her that. If you know of any other clubs, organizations, churches, synagogues, any group of computer users who would benefit from a presentation, contact me directly and I'll be glad to arrange a presentation for that group. Remember that there is never a charge to the club or its members for my services. The arrangement that I have with Avast is very simple. They pay all of my expenses when I go out and do a presentation. So I get free vacations, you get free presentations, and it makes everyone happy.
Okay, Bob, that was an excellent presentation. And now we're going to take some questions. And I want you to, this screen will stay up for a while, so that if you want to email Bob with a personal question, you can. Also, you can get a list of the programs we discussed And Bob may be able to tell you a little bit more about that on this link. What's available on the link, Bob?
The link contains information of how you change from one antivirus program to another, because you need to totally remove whatever you have before you can install something new. And simply using the control panel to remove your antivirus program only takes out a small amount of a very large program. We all have a removal tool. This will give you access to those removal tools no matter whose antivirus program you're using. It also gives you links to all of the programs we talked about and many, many other things.
Okay. We do have one question coming up. Judy wants to know, how can I make CCleaner not remove my passwords?
Uncheck the box.
Okay.
Okay, there is a box in there for what it cleans, and if you uncheck that thing for passwords, it'll leave them alone. Remember that you can also do cleaning directly through your browser, and it also has that same option. You can clean out the passwords it's remembered. Personally, I would never recommend that you use your browser to store your passwords. That should be done by a password manager. And if it's done through a password manager, then allow CCleaner to clean out the ones that the browser stores, because it's not their job.
Okay. Okay, we still got a little bit of time. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Let me see if I can read this right. I have a network attached storage device in my home. Does the NAS need antivirus protection if the router has a firewall and I have AV on all computers?
The firewall on your router, it only goes in one direction. The firewall that you have on your computer, if you're using Windows 7 and up, that covers you both ways. So I would still recommend a software firewall rather than the one that comes with your router.
Okay. Okay, the other question is, these programs you discussed today, Bob, will they all work with Windows 10?
They're all working on my computer, and I run the latest preview build of Windows 10.
Okay. Okay, then I got another one from Barry. I don't know where Barry's from, but
Florida.
Florida, okay. I like, Barry from, okay, these things. If Avast finds malware, does it place it in a viewable quarantine area?
Yes, it does.
Good question, Barry. Okay, we're still waiting here.
For those of you that use Avast and need some help with things, I do have a YouTube channel. It's part of what you'll find on this link that I'm sharing. And there are many, many tutorials on not only Avast problems, but also many, many different things. Windows 10 is one of them. Many other programs are covered. So you might want to take a peek and see if there's something there that will help you. Okay. Remember, when you look for help on in a video, you can always pause, then do what it says, and then come back and resume. So a video is an excellent way to get help step by step.
Okay. I've got a question for you that our computer user group in here in Des Moines asked. Someone was trying to tell him that they should not be using Malwarebytes with some of the more the firewall for Avast or anything, because they would take things out. Have you ever heard anything like that?
No, because I use Malwarebytes and Avast.
I know, but this is the paid version. One of the paid versions with a firewall and some other stuff in it. Have you ever heard anything?
Malwarebytes doesn't have a firewall.
No, I know, but it has some. It affects the Avast firewall or something. You never heard that?
No, but you can have exclusions so that Avast doesn't check Malwarebytes and vice versa.
Okay.
Both programs have provisions for allowing or not looking at certain programs or certain folders. And if you do have a problem, you can go ahead and do exclusions. That way you won't have a conflict.
Okay. Question was, does Avast have an antivirus software for network attached storage devices?
It depends on how you set this thing up. If you're using the business version, it would automatically do both.
Okay. And I believe you touched on that Avast does have a Android one for the phones, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. And the Android version is free, yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I want to thank you, Bob, very much for making such an interesting presentation. You've got his email address, and you also got the programs. And remember, this presentation will be up on the YouTube site in a little bit to be able to cover this, so you can go back and get it later.